Good morning, class. Today we are going to read Lesson 7, How Does Energy Flow in an Ecosystem? And we're going to learn about different kinds of organisms. There's different groups, like there's producers, and then there's consumers. And we're going to learn about different kinds of consumers. And then there's decomposers. So those are the kind of things we're going to learn about. We're going to learn also about how organisms get their energy, and we're also going to talk about why they need energy. So let's go ahead and read together. Now, you can read from your book with me because it's in color and it's prettier and it's more fun to look at, or you can follow along with me right here on the screen. Let's start here at the top paragraph. This is usually our introductory paragraph. Let's read it together. How are you able to walk upstairs, play soccer, and lift your school bag? How can your body pump blood, breathe in oxygen, and grow new fingernails? To do all of the things that you do each day, your body needs energy. All organisms need energy to survive, grow, and reproduce. Organisms get energy from food. Organisms can be classified into 3 different groups based on the way they get food. The 3 groups are producers, consumers, and decomposers. Each group of organisms has a job to do in the ecosystem. So now we're going to go back and we're going to talk about the different groups. The first group we're going to talk about here is the producer. A producer is an organism that makes its own food from sunlight. The process of making food and oxygen from sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide is called photosynthesis. Okay, so if you go out and you stand in the sun, can you make your own food? Does your body make your own food by standing in the sunlight? No, because you're not a producer. Let's keep going. Most producers are green plants, although algae and some other protists and some bacteria are also producers. Almost all of the food on Earth can be traced back to green plants. So we need green plants and other producers to live. So now we're going to move into the next group, which is the consumer. An animal that eats other organisms is called a consumer. Consumers help keep a balance of organisms in the ecosystem. There are 4 major types of consumers. Before we go on, are we consumers? Yes. All right, let's learn about the first one, the herbivore. And remember, right here shows you how to pronounce these words. I know you know herbivore, but let's just look at it though, because look, it says herbivore. And I think that's really handy, especially when you get to words that you don't know. And then the words that are all or the syllable that is all caps, that's the one that you stress. Okay, so it would be herbivore. It's different than if the VOHR here was stressed or it was all capitalized, then it would be herbivore. Now see, that's weird. But it's herbivore. Okay. So an herbivore is an organism that eats plants. Rabbits, deer, horses, monarch butterflies, and tadpoles are herbivores. And here we have a picture of a deer. So we have the plant eaters, the herbivores. Now we're going to move on to the carnivore. And remember, these are examples of consumers, different kinds of consumers. A carnivore is an animal that eats other animals. Hawks, wolves, spiders, cats, and northern pike are carnivores. An omnivore is an animal that eats both plants and animals. Bears, raccoons, carp, and dragonflies are omnivores. And so are we. I don't know about you, but I like berries. Berries are really good. But then I also like steak. So that's a plant and an animal. What about you? What do you like? Moving on, we have scavenger. A scavenger is an animal that eats dead animals. Vultures, hyenas, crows, catfish, and flies are scavengers. And down here we can see scavengers eating something that had died there. You can see its ribs and its backbone, so you know that it's already dead. Okay. Flies are also scavengers. And if you look over here, look at this. There are deep water scavengers. Look at that. They even live in the ocean. So it says nutrients are so scarce on the deep ocean bottom that scavengers such as shrimp and hagfish eat a dead fish in just a few hours, leaving nothing but bones. And another one that's a scavenger, I bet you didn't know, are crabs. Yep. All right, so let's move to the next page, page 111. We're going to talk about decomposers. A decomposer is an organism that breaks down dead organisms to get energy. Without decomposers, dead plants and animals would pile up. Decomposers break down dead things into nutrients that other plants and animals need, so ecosystems can't survive without decomposers. Fungi or fungi, as well as certain bacteria, insects, and worms are decomposers. And here's an example of fungi. And what do we call those? Mushrooms. As you can see, each group interacts with other groups. In this way, energy passes from group to group. The flow of the energy through a community is called a food chain. Okay, and we're going to look at this illustration to learn more about food chains. So let's look here. This is a simple chain. Just like you have a chain on your bike or a necklace, one link links to another, which then links to another. That's what happens here, and that's why it's called a chain, a food chain. So you have the grass. Okay, grass produces its own food. But what eats the grass? The rabbit. And then what eats the rabbit? The fox. Okay, and that's just one example of a food chain. There are so many. There's a lot of animals that eat the rabbit, so you could have other animals branching off of the rabbit even. Okay, so that would build into then a food web, which is what I'm going to show you on the next page. But don't look yet, we have to finish this page first. Each ecosystem has many food chains. For example, the rabbit in the food chain eats many species of plants, not just one. A food web is all the food chains in a community. Food webs show the relationships among producers, herbivores, omnivores, carnivores, scavengers, and decomposers. So if we look on the next page, we can see this is basically a grassland or a forest food web, like simple. This is a real simple one. Okay. If you were to do a food web from the ocean, it would look completely different because they would be all aquatic creatures. So food webs can be in any ecosystem. Okay, so if you just look at this one, you can see all the examples. So let's take a look. Do you see any producers in this food web? You're right, the plants. Okay, and then we have the herbivores that eat the plants. Yes, that would be the next ones in line from the plants. Okay, you got the butterfly, you have the squirrel, the rabbit, and the grasshopper. Then the carnivores, those are the ones that eat the herbivores. Okay, these are the ones eating that. And then you have even more carnivores that eat other animals like that. So it just keeps going on. All right, but then what happens when those things die? Then that's where the decomposers come in. All right, so let's just say one of the animals died. Here he is. Okay. Well, God made other animals that come and eat this animal to help break it down. Okay. Otherwise, they'd just be piling up. So the scavengers on this page is a fly, a vulture, and I don't know what it looks like in your book, but that looks like bacteria to me right there in mine. Okay, and then what happens if plants die? Because those can pile up too. So that's where the mushrooms come in, and then the worms also. All right, let's keep going. The many chains that make up a food web are complex, but they have something in common. All food chains start with a producer and end with a decomposer. God arranges this complex system to make sure that Earth's ecosystems are healthy. Okay, so let's take a look at the questions. When you answer these questions, because that's the assignment is going to be to answer these questions on a piece of paper and then turn them in. But instead of giving me answers just off the top of your head, I need you to go back into the chapter and find the answers and write down what the book says the answers are. Okay, remember I have you do that because 1, it teaches you study skills, and also 2, it shows you where to find things and how to find things, and then 3, it also helps you to remember what the book says. Okay, so let's take a look at number 1. It says, why do all organisms need energy? So what we'll do is we'll go back to the first page and we're going to look for that. Okay, we need to know, what was that again? Why do all organisms need energy? Okay, so let's take a look. Let's scan. Okay, how are you able to walk up the stairs? How can your body pump blood? Do all the things you do each day? Oh, all organisms need energy to what? Survive, grow, and reproduce. Right? They need energy to survive, grow, and reproduce. So let's go back. Why do all organisms need energy? And that is where you are going to write, they need energy to survive. What was the other one? To survive. I think it said grow. I have to go back here and look. Yeah, grow. Okay, survive, grow, and reproduce. Okay? That would be the answer to that one. So I went back into the chapter and I looked for the answer and I found it, and I'm writing what they said the answer is. Okay, because that's going to help me to remember what I need to know for the test, which actually is you, because you're the one that's going to be taking the test. Okay, so let's take a look at number 2. I'm going to help you. Where do you find these things? So here we go. What process, let me get my pointer. What process do producers use to make energy? Okay, well, wait. What is the key subject we're talking about in this question? Producers, right? So that is the word we need to try to find that's going to get us close to our answer. Okay, so what process do producers use to make energy? Always start at the beginning. Okay, so if I scan here and then it says organisms get energy, okay, but that's not really telling me anything about producers. I'm looking for the word producers. Oh, look at that. Here it is. Okay, a producer. And, sorry, I have to keep flipping. What process do producers use to make energy? Okay, so let's see what it says. Producer is an organism that makes its own food from sunlight. Process of making food and oxygen from sunlight. Water and carbon dioxide is called photosynthesis. Okay. So, what do you think the answer is? it says, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get my pointer here. That would be photosynthesis, correct? They would use, or if you didn't want to say, because some plants aren't green, but they still can produce their own food, you can say they produce their own food with sunlight. Most use photosynthesis. And there you go. There's your answer. Okay. So then for number 3, name 3 producers. So you're going to look back there and find 3 of them. Okay. That live near your home or school. So you basically have to have a good understanding of producers, that you can think about what's around us, what kind of producers live around us that uses photosynthesis or sunlight to help them make their own food. Okay, see how that works? Okay, so that's how you're going to answer numbers 1 through 7. And then take a picture of them and turn them in. All right? Okay, you can also do it on Google Docs. If you are signed in to your Chromebook, you can go into your Drive, and then you can type on Google Docs there and share it with me. That's another way you can do it. Remember, we've used that before, Google Docs. Okay, and I know Mrs. Connor has used it with you too. Okay, so you have a great rest of the day.